Yes, people, welcome back to another video on Thai Sports, where today this news has kind of come out of nowhere because there were links, there were rumors, but I didn't quite think that Crystal Palace had it in them to go for someone different, someone exciting, a bit of a raw talent that is coming back from an injury, but the potential is seriously high and yet only 22 years of age. It has now been confirmed by Fabrizio Romano that Crystal Palace are in advanced talks and set to sign Yeremy Pino from Villarreal, the young Spanish winger at 22 years of age, set to sign for around £45 million. And that would be their Eberechi Eze replacement. Now, that has really surprised me because as people see, if you follow my content anyway, and my journey, I spoke on Everton and their rebuild. I spoke on Nottingham Forest and Dan and Doy and those type of players coming in. I love to see teams go for different type of players that I'm excited to see come to the Premier League, players that I think have got, a potential to fill, and players that I also think stylistically work. And Yeremy Pino is another one of these players that I'm hoping can come in from Spain with the technical brilliance that he can give to Crystal Palace, and he can get bums off seats at Selhurst Park. One thing I will make clear: it is so hard to replace Eberechi Eze. And that is one thing I don't want people to do. Always compare the player to Eberechi Eze. Eze is Eze. We know that he's sort of one of a kind with his flair, his guile, his dribbling. He's gone to Arsenal now. He's come through the South London ranks. He's been at Millwall. He's been at QPR. And I think his journey is incredible. And I love Eze. And I hope he goes and shines at Arsenal. Because as an individual, I don't think you can ever dislike Eze. But what I don't want football fans to do, especially at Crystal Palace, is just compare Pino to Eze. Pino's his own player. Pino is coming to make his own stamp on things and hopefully improve Crystal Palace, get them back scoring goals, make an exciting front three with Ismail Assar and Jean-Philippe Mateta. And let's see what happens. Because Pino, as you can see, people, like I said, he is 22 years of age. He's still a very young player. But being a young player, he's also experienced. He's had three caps for the qualifiers in 23-24 for Spain. He's played for the under-21 team a lot. He's been in the Villarreal setup for the last 5 seasons now, since basically breaking through in the 2020 season. So he, despite being 22 years of age, people, he is experienced. And I think you do need some form of experience when you're coming to a team in the Premier League like Crystal Palace that are going to be up there competing for the mid-table spots. And they've got a real core fan base. They're coming off one of their most successful ever seasons, winning the FA Cup and the Community Shield. But what does that mean? It means that Crystal Palace are back playing in Europe. And when you've got someone with the quality of Yeremy Pino, who's been there and done it for Villarreal, especially when they were successful in winning the Europa League against my team, Manchester United, you're now bringing in a player that has that European experience, that European flair, the European tactical nous. He's coming from Spain. Technical ability is assured, and that is one thing that Yeremy Pino will bring you. But now you're playing in Europe, you're wanting players that can come in and fit the system, fit like a glove. And Yeremy Pino can do that. And I think him having that European experience and winning with Villarreal and playing a monumental part in that season for them is important. And, you look at Yeremy Pino now, and he's coming in from Villarreal, who've had a strong start to the season, may I just add, by the way. They've had their 5-0 win on the weekend. They won the week before that. And he has started both games for them so far this season. And he has been playing on the left-hand side. And when you look at Yeremy Pino, if you've watched him when he had his breakout season, which was in the 2022 campaign, he was playing on the right-hand side for Villarreal. So he's shown that flexibility. And I think that's really going to help Crystal Palace moving forward. They're going to have a player now that is comfortable on the right-hand side, but is also comfortable on the left. And that is where I want to bring Ismail Assar into it, because you've got Ismail Assar and obviously Jean-Philippe Mateta. Now, they're mainstays in that team. They've got their position. They've got their system set up on that right-hand side. Munoz and Ismail Assar have a great connection. And you are not going to change that. You are not going to change that. Sarr, Mateta, and Daniel Munoz, that is that side. Yeah? That is all sorted. And I think that's an exciting side, because I think with Ismail Assar, he gives you productivity with goals. He gives you hard work. He can ball carry with the ball. He can create. He can dribble. He can do a lot of things that really suit a Premier League player. And even for his size, like he's very tall and strong for a player playing in sort of that number right 10 role. And I think, we saw him at Watford a few years ago. We know that he really suits the Premier League. So he's a lock-in. So now it's like, right, on that left-hand side where Eze was operating, can they bring in a player that not can replicate what Eze can do, but can bring them that creativity, the low center of gravity dribbling. And what they're doing in going for someone like Yeremy Pino is getting someone that, yes, can play on the right-hand side, but now is starting to establish himself on the left-hand side. And that is what Crystal Palace needed. This is a heat map from Yeremy Pino in his last season. And as you can see, he is basically operating in the same kind of areas that Eberechi Eze was operating in. Yes, they can hug the touchline at times and play on that left-hand side. But really, when you look at the formation Crystal Palace are playing, you're wanting your players such as Tyreek Mitchell, Daniel Munoz, who are the full wing-backs, to get forward, up and down. And you want someone that can get in the pockets, someone that can play in that number 10 role, someone that can dribble, someone that can create. And that pocket there that we're seeing Yeremy Pino operating is exactly the pocket that you want to see your players playing in as a number 10. And that is what Yeremy Pino is going to give you. And if I look at his strengths as Yeremy Pino, I am looking at his strengths with the low center of gravity, good in duels, can finish as well. I know his goal scoring record is not amazing, but he can get in very good goal scoring positions. And when he does, he can hit the back of the net. And if you look at his data as well, when he was playing at Villarreal, a lot of his finishes that have happened for Villarreal have come in sort of that left-hand channel inside the box. He scores goals inside the box, and he's got a lovely right foot finish that he can caress them into the right-hand corner. A bit like Eze. When players just come onto the ball and they side foot them nice finishes there into that bottom corner, into the top corner. That is what Yeremy Pino will give you. And if anyone's seen his highlights or seen his compilation of his finishes, you will know exactly what I mean. But I think for me, the important part is that he's learned to play on the right-hand side for Villarreal at the start of his career, but now he's starting to play on the left-hand side. And I think that is going to be very effective for Crystal Palace, because that is exactly the position that they're looking to replace Eberechi Eze in. And when you look at his also stats and his data from previous seasons, Yeremy Pino, he's not the most outlandish when it comes to scoring and assisting. 21-22 season, 24 games, 3 goals, 1 assist. The year after that, 31 games, 6 goals, 4 assists, 10 goal contributions. The year after that, 36 games, 4 goals, 5 assists. Then he had his injury where he had a really bad ACL injury. He had to take a year to recover. And that would probably be my only concern. Not his ability. I think his low center of gravity, I think his dribbling, and I think his creative side of the game is going to be absolutely fine for Crystal Palace, because they need someone that can get in that number 10 position off the left and give you a bit of a different profile to Ismaila Sarr. You don't want two of the same profiles. You want someone with a bit more technical ability, whereas Ismaila Sarr can be the work hard and the ball carrying and a bit more of the second striker to Jean-Philippe Mateta. But I think what we've seen now is that Yeremy Pino played 34 games last year in La Liga, 4 goals, 7 assists. And this year he's already started the first 2 games getting an assist. Now, I think when you sign someone off the back of an ACL injury, it can always be a bit of a concern. You can always be a little bit worried because you don't know what to expect. Is the player going to come back and be the same? But one thing with Yeremy Pino is that he's worked hard. He's now back in the Villarreal starting lineup. They're tipped to get top 4 and get back into the Champions League spots. And you're getting a player at 22 years of age who is a Spanish international. So really, when you look at it, one ACL injury should not take away all the positives that Yeremy Pino can bring to Crystal Palace. And there's a lot of upside with this signing. Now, there are people in Spain saying that, Palace are paying quite a lot of money when it's 50 million euros. But if you looked at his potential 4 years ago, you would not say that that was a lot of money. You would say that is the price you would expect him to be, or if not more, because you expect him to be at a top club. But because of the setback of the injury and now finding his way back into the Villarreal setup and having to effectively now prove himself, that's where the question marks would come in. But ability-wise, I don't believe we can question Yeremy Pino. I think he has a lot to add to Crystal Palace. He suits exactly the formation that they want to get in, the channels of the inside, the inside 10. He likes to come in on his right foot. He can dribble. He can create. He can score with some lovely finishes. And I think it's a very exciting signing for Crystal Palace. And also, look, let's be real. Crystal Palace fans have not been used to being able to get these sort of players in with this European draw, and players who are in the Spanish international squad coming with a lot of upside. So when you look at it, I do have to say that this is going to be a good signing for Crystal Palace. It's exciting. It's something different. It's something to look forward to. And I think that's where you want to be at as a Crystal Palace fan. You want to be able to look at your club and say, yeah, look, okay, what type of players are we going for? This is the type of player we want to bring in. This is going to be exciting. It's showing you that they want to carry on improving and bring in the best talent across Europe and get them before bigger clubs do. And potentially the sell-on fee could be huge as well. And that's another thing for Palace. They could sign him for 45 million. If he does really well, they'll sell him for 70, 75 million, because this is the way the market is operating now. Players are going to teams like Crystal Palace, Everton, whoever it is, to perform and get regular game time, and then they can move on to bigger things. And if they do that, that means Crystal Palace have done well. He's been a success, and they bring in the next person. So yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. And one thing I think as well with Crystal Palace, them being quite a physical side, is that you have to be quite strong as well. I know Eze wasn't the strongest, but he was able to ride and glide challenges. And that is something Yeremy Pino can do. When you look at it, on average, he engages in about 26 duels per 90 with a success rate of nearly 50%. So with him having nearly a success rate of 50%, it shows that he does compete. He can compete physically, and his low center of gravity will help him do that, because you either win fouls or defenders have got to make a great tackle against you. So it's going to give something to Crystal Palace, which is a bit different. I think they've needed someone in that number 10 role, because Justin Devaney has been playing there, but we know he hasn't got the guard and that creativity that you just need to sort of unlock teams and unpick teams. And I think now Yeremy Pino can do that for Crystal Palace. And I think it's going to be an exciting signing. But like I said, there's a lot of upside. However, with the injury and coming back into full-time football after the season, let's see how he does in the Premier League. But I think there is room to grow, there's room to develop, and there is a lot of upside with the formation and what Yeremy Pino can do. So guys, Crystal Palace making very interesting moves for one of Europe's hottest talents, you could say, from a few years back, but now on the revenge tour. Yeremy Pino to Crystal Palace. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, Palace fans. Let me know if you agree, if you disagree, or if you wanted a different option. And yeah, on my way to 5K, please make sure you like, please make sure you subscribe. Bless up.